Let's see what happens here. Hold on. I want that key run for just a second because the fuel system wasn't priming. I can hear it gurgling. Hell yeah. How's that?
Bo didn't like it.
Bo about crapped his pants. All right, so she fired up. Not real well, but, you know, that's a start. We got fuel, air, and fire, so I'm going to start tidying some stuff up. What our problem was with this bad boy and why it wouldn't start kind of gave me a bit of a fit. I had to have a buddy come over here that's smarter than me and tell me what was wrong. And I've left his rig in place. I'm fixing to undo all this and make it work on its own. So the fuel pump relay, when you turn the key on, it would buzz and then it would hum, and it would not send power out this green wire, right, that runs out of the control pack. That's routed back to the trunk. It would not send 12 volts out of that, which is what the control pack instructions say it was supposed to do, because the relay wasn't firing and we couldn't figure out why. On the fuel pump relay, so this is just the control pack box. I've got it all kind of disassembled. This yellow with red stripe wire right there is the ground signal for the trigger circuit on the relay. So the relay is just a big switch, right? It's got power in, power out that runs something. Power out is your big green wire here for your fuel pump. That's not spliced or anything. We just cut it for testing purposes and pinched it back together. And then so your other circuit is this yellow and red wire and this white wire. Oh, sorry. White wire, yellow, and red wire. So when that gets like a 5-volt reference or whatever, it trips the relay, which sends power to the fuel pump. Well, this wire is the ground circuit for that, and it would not get enough ground to fire the relay, and we couldn't figure out why. So my buddy's a Ford tech. We tracked that wire down. It goes, so that wire is supposed to be ground, right, for the circuit. It goes right here on the ECM. You can see here we've burred that wire a little bit, testing it. And basically, the ECM was not sending a ground signal. I don't know why they have it wired up this way, where the ECM sends the ground signal for the fuel pump to kick on, because it also sends the key on also signal for the fuel pump relay. So the ECM was controlling both of these wires, and for some reason, it's not sending ground for this. So either the ECM's bad, which the car fired, so I don't really think so, or there's just something screwy with that circuit in the ECM, which I guess ultimately means the ECM's bad too, but you know, like it'll work, I think. So what I'm gonna do is, so we jumpered this is what this wire is. We jumpered this to ground, right up here to a ground source, right? And the fuel pump kicked right on, and the car, you know, started sort of. I didn't have anything hooked up, no vacuum lines or anything for it to like actually try to run. And there's very little oil in it and no coolant, so I didn't want to like actually like start it. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is just cut this yellow and red wire up here somewhere, and just run it directly to ground, just like this is doing, which this is just jammed in there. And then, yeah, so that should complete that circuit. The fuel pump relay should run, and voila. So something else I did while I was piddling things, I made me a coolant reservoir mount. I think that that's going to be the best spot for the coolant reservoir. In the other little section of video, I cut the MAF housing down, and this filter isn't going to work, so I'm going to take that back to O'Reilly's. Oh, it doesn't fit. And so I made a little bracket over here with some just like steel I had laying around. Riv nutted it, made a 90 in it. Riv nuts down here for these bolts, pretty sharp. And then I put a little, oh, that's gonna mess the whole video up if I turn my camera. And I put a little bracket down here for the bottom. I even put a little bushing in there, look at that. That's OEM right there. So this guy's in there, solid, not gonna go anywhere. I wanted to put it a little further back because of this line, but I mean, I think I can get a hose on there, and if I can't, I'll just heat gun this area and kind of bend that maybe, and then probably ruin this reservoir and have to buy a new one. I think my power steering reservoir is going to go right here ish. Same deal with the mount. It looks way grosser than the coolant reservoir. I should probably clean it. I'll probably clean it. You know, I just might clean it. We went and painted the engine bay and stuff. At least I could clean the power steering reservoir. But yeah, the pump's over here, right? So my big drain line, you know, will go up here, and then the other one will go where it needs to go. I have a power steering like map somewhere. I don't know where it goes. I have it figured out. I've figured it out in the past, and I'll figure it out again. So yeah, cooling lines. I'm just gonna get some hose, hook those up wherever they go. Get some heater hoses. I'm probably just gonna buy the power by the hour radiator thing. I sanded this one down, and I think it'll work, but I gotta find a hose that fits, because this hose doesn't really, like, it doesn't have quite the right bend. I might could cut it again. But I don't think the diameter's right. I might just do it, you know? I might just YOLO it. I don't know, it's not right. I need a different hose. So I might just go to the parts house and buy a couple hoses, see if I can get one to fit, and if I can't, just return them. There's some kind of creature on the ceiling. That was cool sounding. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I'm gonna clean all this wiring up, put the control pack box back together, mount it. I might put the fender on it. I might not, but I might. So yeah, that's where we're at. So O2s are in. I had to split the control pack harness a little bit right here, just pull the sheathing off. I'm going to run this right along this cross member on the K member. Try to keep it away from this header primary. That's going to put this kind of like this, which is not really where I want it, but I don't really want to extend O2 wires, so I think it'll be fine. And then I'm going to do a little zip tieage on this tab right here on the bell housing. It's got this little casting block with nothing there, so I'm going to drill a hole through that, run a zip tie so those are up nice and tight, and try to keep all this wiring from dilly-dangling around and hooking on cones when I hit them. Let me do that. So I did a dumb thing, and I put my hood on, and it's above my light, and so now I can't see my engine bay without another light. So that was real bright. So I got some coolant stuff tidied up here. Wanted to just talk about that a little bit. I'm cheap and trying to not spend $1 bajillion on this car, although I already have. So anyway, a couple little things here. I bought these 90s at O'Reilly's. And the one they had in stock broke, and so I ordered more on Amazon. They're just Dorman. I think it's 3/4 or maybe 5/8 or something. I don't remember. And then it goes up to this hose, which, what size is that hose, ladies and gentlemen? I should have looked before I started videoing. Anyway, it's the same size. You can just run the freaking, you can just run the hose directly to the nipple, which I should have did. But I didn't want like a big expanse of hose like curling up and going straight down. I just like the look of the 90s. So I spent like, you know, 10, 20 bucks here on these little nipples. This one, so these are both the same size, right? On the F-150 or the Mustang, I presume these hoses, your heater hoses, are the same size. On this car, they're not. One of them is smaller. So I just got a Dorman like 3/4 to 5/8 reducer. So I've got, I think it's 5/8 hose, 6/8, yeah, so 5/8 hose, 5/8 to 3/4 reducer, 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch. Those are my heater hoses, right to the firewall, clamped on with just some old worm gear hose clamps back there. Oops, pardon, that's the light. Radiator hoses. I saw a couple people recommend some hoses. I went ahead and just bought both of them. That's a Gates 22900 on there. You can see My alternator's on the way. I got enough room in there for an alternator. It's not gonna hit. It kind of sticks back a little bit further than I would prefer, but the way it's molded, I can't really trim it much without getting real sketch. So I think that guy will be fine. The 22-900. This was another one that a lot of people recommended, and honestly, I have no idea why. The 216-18. This bad boy is like, I don't know, man. It goes back there. It would like be in the void of where the alternator pulley would be, like back in here. So maybe if you're in your alternator in another spot, or like you have a turbo in this area and your alternator's moved or something, that might be cool. Oh, I know why, because everyone else isn't a moron, and they're running the power by the hour adapter swap kit, which puts the alternator over there. Radiator hose, I bought a $7 off eBay coupler, right? 1.5 inch, oh yeah, just fall on the floor. 1.5 inch coupler. This is the stock 4.6 radiator hose. And I just took the Y and just ground off that flange with like a grinder, and I think that's gonna work really well. So yeah, you could spend $90 on the power by the hour adapter to clip on there and a new $80 radiator hose, or you could just spend $8 and grind that thing off, and that's it. Coolant, I got a vent line here that goes to the top of the radiator, and then another one that goes to the top of the thermostat housing. I'm not real happy about the kink over here, but it's just a vent tube. There goes the light. But yeah, so that should be it. My wife's out here with the dogs, so bye. This fan, no, die, don't slow down. All right. Okay, wiring harness stuff. On the car side, figured some things out, been looking at some stuff. This is my transmission harness off a manual car. And what I've done is strip it all off of the sheathing. The only thing you need to keep on this is the backup light plug and the speed sensor, kind of like on the tail shaft. So you can take this guy up here that's like, it's spliced in with this. You can just cut it off, and then go down here and take all your O2s, the two O2s that are on this harness, cut them free. I'm saving that in case I need some wire for the engine harness. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, so I'm gonna just tape this all up. I'll put a couple clips in it so I can plug it back in. And then that'll be the transmission harness done, so I'll have backup lights and a working speedometer, I hope. So there's that. Trans harness. One thing I forgot to mention, the O2 power and ground are in this plug, so the rest of the signals are in the other little pigtail that I cut off. I think this red and the gray wire, the right thing to do is to depin them so you don't have hot and ground in the harness that's loose. But I just cut them and staggered them, and then like heat shrunk them with a shrinkable, like one of these guys right here. Just a little butt connector, the heat shrinks. Shrunk it, then put some heat shrink over it, shrunk that, taped the hot like here a bunch so it's isolated, taped the ground like here after this garbage and this junk, tape the ground like here, so there's no way they're going to touch. You should be fine. There's no other exposed wires nearby. And then just tape the rest of it up, and I'll go slap it in the car right quick. All right, so wiring harness time. So quick little story. The Coyote control pack reads coolant temperature from a sensor on the back of the head, and there's nothing to interface with the gauges on the car. I want stock gauges to work, so I've left the stock ECM in the footwell over there. My connectors for the stock ECM are still down there. My trans connector, I took all the O2s and stuff out of that. I showed that earlier. So I'm gonna piggyback the stock harness on here. I'm gonna run both. This is a 98. I'm having a hard time finding a wiring harness. I think I'm just gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna ask Nathan and see what he has to say, if he can help me a little bit. I'm gonna run a secondary coolant temp sensor, probably in a heater hose, for one of the stock coolant temp sensors, because I think I want the stock ECM to run the fans, so I don't have to rewire the fans. And then the other one I've run down here. on the side of the block. Oh, let me see if I can even, right up in there, you can see, right by the motor mount. Oh, that was the friggin', right there. So right by the motor mount, I've got I think it's a 3/4 to a 3/8 adapter in the block, just like MPT. And then I've got a 3/8 to a half, which the sensor is a half. So I just got that off Amazon. Just a generic coolant temp sensor with 2 little pigtails. So that's probably gonna get one of these coolant temp sensors. I'm like 90% sure this is the stock oil pressure sensor. So I'm gonna pull this out of the harness, pull this coolant temp sensor out of the harness, and this coolant temp sensor out of the harness. Like I said, I think the 98 might have been one of the only years that had that. There might have been a couple other years around there that had 2 coolant temp sensors. So the car will be able to, the gauge will be able to read coolant temp, oil pressure, and then I'm gonna run a tack output into this as well. So I've started depinning this. There's a cap on the end of this connector for the engine harness. You lift up these little tabs and it just comes off. These little red dividers pull out of the center here. And then on each one of these wires, oh, you can actually see that pretty good. There's a little tab that lifts up, and then you just pull the wire out of the back. And ta-da, you don't have to cut nothing, you don't really tear anything up. So I'm gonna take everything out except for those wires and that I need for both coolant temp sensors, the oil pressure, and the tack signal into the ECM, and then take all the loom off. I'll just have some wires. I'll probably have to lengthen a couple depending on, I may not have to lengthen them. I don't know, it just depends on how I want to run them. But anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'll make another little clip once I'm done, or if there's any hiccups along the way, or if I figure out actually what I need to do and I don't hack it all to pieces, I'll try to let you know, but we'll see how she turns out. All right, gauge wiring, getting a little buttoned up here. Got my 42 pin in. I got everything zip tied up, except this thing clear of the header. It's not like super pretty, but neither am I, so it'd be fine. I'm gonna run this coolant temp sensor along with the engine wiring harness right there. This guy over here, I don't have all of it loomed yet, but so this white wire with red is your oil pressure. This little harness on the stock Coyote engine harness, or this little, sub harness, whatever, this little pigtail has your oil pressure sensor. It's a gray wire. You can tap in up there if you can find it. I had already started making stuff, so I'm just running it down here. I'm gonna branch this off and tap into that gray wire right there, or actually just cut it and run this to the signal, to the sensor. And so we'll just have a dead wire hanging out in here. And then I'll tape all that back up. You'll never know it's there. It'll tidy all back down where it's supposed to go, down to the coolant sensor and the oil pressure sensor. And then this can all go to the altimeter down there. And that'll be that pretty much. Then I'll tap in my blue guy over there. She blew! That one into my cricket quit chirping. That one will tap into my whichever ECM wire I need to make the tack get a signal. Yeah. All right. Sensor harness is on and in. I got a lot of little happy trails here. I don't like this, but whatever. I'll tear all that apart and just put it in one big loom one of these days, but it's in there. That guy's coming. Tack. The blue wire from the stock wiring harness that went to the crank signal, the sensor, plugged into my 42 pin dealie down here, is going to tee into the middle plug for the engine harness here, yellow and purple on pin 13. Thanks, Nathan. This is a Gen 1 control pack with a truck harness. You just tee that in there. Usually one of these here little nice crimpy heating jobs right there. They're real nice. You can get them at O'Reilly's or Walmart even. Don't use these, or even the crimps that don't heat shrink. They suck. If I catch you using these on a car and I buy it from you, or I have to work on it, I'm gonna call you bad things on the internet. And you don't want that. Alrighty, so wiring is done. We'll see if it works. I got a power steering leak addressed. That was a loose fitting down there on the pump. This guy came in early, actually, which is super dope. Coolant temp sensor. This goes to the stock ECM, just an Amazon, like pigtail and coolant temp sensor. It's 3/8 NPT thread. This fitting is 3/8. I had one that I got quickly on Amazon that was like freaking an 1/8 or something. I drilled it out and put this adapter in it because a 3/8 would have like not fit. And then I JB welded it, and I was letting the JB weld set up because this one wasn't supposed to come in for another, oh, watch out, another week, another 2 weeks. And it showed up today. And also these hose clamps look freaking awesome. They're like semi-truck style. I don't know. Hopefully they don't suck. They look great. But so anyway, put a little gas in the car. I'm gonna fire it up and back it out, and then, well, that's what I hope I'm gonna do. And then pull off probably this line. I don't know. I may just try to, I don't know. When I idled it for a little bit, it didn't really seem to be pulling any coolant out of the reservoir. So I'm gonna let it idle for a minute. You know, let it get a little warm. Keep an eye on everything. If it doesn't want to bleed, I might do some Googling or something. I don't know that there's like a procedure to, I don't really know, you know, like, I don't know. We'll just have to see. So, yeah, let's do that and see how bad it leaks and if it wants to run and stuff like that. So she's idling, it's loud, the power steering pump is super not happy. It sucks some fluid down. I'm hoping it's just air. I got a little bit of a leak over here on my high pressure where this fitting is. This one's leaking, I gotta fix that. It's only when you turn it. The engine sounds pretty good though, I think. Bit of a tap sound maybe out the tailpipe. I don't know, coyotes are so noisy. I don't know what's normal, you know. I do have tachometer though, sweet. Oil pressure gauge does not work. I think I wired that up. I think I wired the sensor. Wrong. I'm gonna have to cut all that back open and see. It definitely has oil pressure, or it would not be. It would be making a ton of racket. Oh, I hear it doing something over here. A squealing noise. Yeah, she's sucking some air into the power steering. I need to get more fluid. I'm gonna shut it off.